Good evening, my name is Derrick Willard, Providence Day School. I want to talk to you about quiet girls. You're right, it does take a while. There we go. So we're going to call this Susie Q. All right. Take a good look at her. She's smiling. That's about all she does. Hopefully you all teach Susie Q. I do. I teach science. And I have quite a few of them. All right, so I want to give you a little background on why I'm here, why I'm talking about this subject tonight. And then along the way, we'll go through a couple of social media tools and then hopefully some lessons learned and maybe some things that you, as you use this technology, can explore. I teach APES, literally. I teach AP Environmental Science, but I wind up teaching primates with computers, as you will see. That's good, thank you. All right, so last year I was involved in a group called Powerful Learning Practice. How many people have heard of it? Okay, great program. Challenged me and my peers to implement some social media tools in our teaching. I spent most of the fall as a skeptic, debating what tool to use. A lot of choices out there. I'm, as a scientist, pretty objective. I like to make sure things are going to work. I don't really believe in epic fail, although scientists learn a lot from the epic fail. I wound up deciding on a wiki. How did I do that? Well, I read Clay Shirky's Here Comes Everybody last year. 3 things he says. He actually says promise, tool, bargain in that order. When you're picking a tool, people have to have a promise of getting something out of it. You got to pick the right tool, and then you have to strike a bargain on how to use it. I chose a wiki. What we did was a puzzle method, familiar to teachers. We divided up the semester into topics. Each student got a topic. They had to create content for 1, edit 2, and comment on 3. Those were the minimums. Okay, those were the minimums. This is the power law. I want to introduce you to the power law because I thought it was pretty interesting. Those were the minimums for the promise of 3% on the semester exam. 3% extra credit. That's all, 3 measly % extra credit on the semester exam. What's the power law? If you're not familiar with the power law has a long tail. What is the long tail? This is a long tail. Obviously, it was not written by anyone other than a mathematician. Sorry if there are any mathematicians in the room. But I think most of us know it as the 80-20 rule. So Susie would probably go say, what? What does that definition mean? Really, we're kind of talking about the 80-20 rule. We had a few more girls than boys. I understand that. I'm not a statistician. Okay, so again, say what? I was surprised at the amount of input generated above the minimums by the girls. Again, the minimums were 1 page of content, 2 edits, and 3 discussions. Contribute meaningfully to 3 discussions. I don't know if you saw the numbers. They were huge, okay, for girls. Girls went far, far beyond the minimums in this collaborative environment. I thought it was amazing. Okay, so I learned 4 or 5 things. I thought those were pretty neat. This is what I think I really am most interested in. Females like Susie Q seem to thrive in this collaborative environment. I was curious. I was wondering why. I don't really know. If we look at the power law, when it comes back, yeah, the power law, basically you have 20% of the people doing 80% of the work, 80% of the people doing 20% of the work. It's the same area, okay? And Shirky says as these systems get larger, those differences get greater. So I only had about 33 kids involved, but look at my results. Does that look familiar? Hey, looks like the power law. So I was wondering, you know, I had all these numbers. A wiki's great because you can pull all these stats out into a spreadsheet. You can sort them. You can look at them. I was wondering who was in the long tail. Who's in the long tail? The color's a little off. Pink's girls, blue's boys. Who's in the long tail? Girls. They are? Look at the top. Most of the boys are in the long tail. I know the answer why. So as we roll to the conclusion, I think this is something people need to look into. If girls are in the long tail in terms of classroom participation daily in a science class, if there's quiet girls you never hear from, they never ask a question, okay? Why did they blossom in this collaborative environment? It's just because they needed credit? I don't know, but if you're more interested about this topic, please come to my session tomorrow morning. I think it's session 1. Okay? Because we don't have time for questions, right? And I think I'm done. Great.